Hi everyone, I think we can get started now. Before we get started, I just want to introduce myself that my name is Ivan Nguyen, and it is my privilege to serve the University of Toronto as the Student and Alumni Career Engagement Coordinator. And I want to first welcome and thank you all for joining us today on a Friday afternoon. Before we begin the event, though, I wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. It is worth noting that acknowledging the land is an Indigenous protocol, and to recognize the land is an expression of gratitude and appreciation to those whose territory we reside on, and a way of honoring the Indigenous people who have been living and working on the land from time immemorial. It is important to understand the long-standing history that brought us to reside on the land and to understand our place within it. Land acknowledgements do not exist in the past tense and will need to remain mindful of our ongoing responsibility in the present. Welcome everyone to this exclusive alumni skill building workshop titled Money Management Essential with our alumni speaker, Tshego Kelesitse. Tshego is a strategic and proactive thinker currently working as an assistant project manager at McKinsey Investment as part of their rotational program. With a strong foundation in statistics and psychology, she brings a dual lens to problem solving, combining analytical rigor with human-centered insights to deliver impactful solutions. Awarded a full merit scholarship to the University of Toronto, Tshego holds the honor bachelor degree in statistics and psychology. Her academic excellence and curiosity for data have shaped her ability to transform complex challenges into actionable strategies. In her professional journey, Tshego has contributed to diverse projects, including developing strategic roadmaps, coordinating enterprise architecture week, and collaborating with application delivery team to deliver technical solutions. This journey has equipped her with robust analytical, project management, and organizational skills. Beyond her professional pursuits, Tshego is passionate about advocating for education and supporting student success. Through her involvement with programs like Pursue STEM, she champions opportunities for underrepresented groups in science, technology, engineering, and math, striving to inspire the next generation to pursue career in the science, break barriers, challenging the norms, and embrace their unique potential. Be ready to take note and add your question in the chat throughout these sections. And yes, we will share the webinar afterward as a video recording. So without any further ado, please join me to welcome Tshego.
Thank you, Ivan, and welcome everyone. Just wanted to share at the beginning that this session with financial management is based on my experience and the resources and research that I've done and I've found helpful. Please make sure that you do use this as a general guidance and you do your due diligence in doing your research before making important financial decisions. Yeah. A little bit background about me. I went to the University of Toronto as well. So I'm a fellow U of T alumni. I studied statistics and math, and I did a little bit of social psychology, which was by far some of my favorite courses at U of T. And my experience includes being a statistics peer mentor. I worked very closely with Ivan, helping first year students in stats navigate new life in university. I also have experience being an intern at McKinsey Investment, which actually led to my full-time role, which I currently occupy. And a little bit of hobbies from about myself. I love listening to podcasts. An example right now that I love is Diary of a CEO. I'm sure some of you might be familiar with it. And maybe the Aspire podcast by Emma Grede. And I also love swimming and I love weightlifting. This is the overall agenda for our day. I'll start with why financial literacy is essential, especially for students such as yourself or young professionals such as yourself. Understanding money early on gives you options. It gives you the freedom to make options and build confidence in every decision that you make. And we'll take a look at practical budgeting methods that actually work, that you can apply in your life and use these approaches in your day-to-days without feeling restricted, without feeling overwhelmed. Next, we'll break down in about tools or approaches on saving and why, for example, having an emergency fund is a critical foundation in financial awareness or financial empowerment. Next, we'll look at different accounts that Canada has, that Canada offers, different types of savings accounts that you can make use of at this time in your position to make sense of your finances and to work towards your financial goals. Another big one is credit and debt. We'll touch on credit scores, why credit matters, why picking a particular credit card also matters. So we'll discuss more of that as we move on. And lastly, I always love this, taking away action items from any particular read or whatever you listen to, taking away action steps from today that you can apply immediately into your finances. Awesome. Before we dive deeper, I want to get a little bit sense of where everybody's at today. How confident do you feel about managing your money right now? So here's a quick poll. How confident do you feel at the moment in this time about your money? Do you feel confident? Or are you getting there? Not very confident. I want to learn more. Not confident at all. I don't have a system. I just do my best and I try my best each month when my money comes in. Mm. I see some responses still coming in. Awesome. I'm going to end the poll. So these are the results that we have so far. A lot of you, which I'm happy to see, are getting there. You know the basics about money, you know savings, and you know how to budget. So that's good to hear. Some of you are not very confident. You try, but you're managing. So you could use a little bit more tools and approaches about managing your money. Overall, where you are right now is okay. There's no right or wrong answer. And the important thing to remember is that this session is about growth and it's not about shame. So this workshop will give you those practical tools that you can use moving forward in order to feel more confident about your finances. Why does financial literacy matter? Why are we here today? What's the point and the fuss about money? Why does everybody talk about money and investment and why is it so important? The reality is money touches every part of our lives, where we live, the decisions that we make, and even it affects our stress levels, our day-to-day stress levels. And most of us are never formally taught how to manage our finances. So we just get to life, get to adulthood, and hope that we get it right. We don't necessarily are taught the tools on how we manage our finances. And without financial literacy, people navigate in the dark. They navigate their finances in the dark and without understanding the long-term impact of their decisions. And for me in particular, it's also more than just managing my own finances. And for some of you as well, it might be bigger than that. It might be about breaking generational patterns in your family or things that you've learned in your family or through your friends. I grew up in a home where money was never discussed. Or you may have grown up in a home where money was always stressful or confusing, caused a lot of fights. And learning these skills now means you can create a different future for yourself. It means you can create a different future for the people who may come after you. And with financial literacy, you're able to build stability. You're able to create options for yourself and your family. And the most important thing that I also really value is it's about dignity. And you're able to control your future instead of letting circumstances control you. And this is the reason why we're here today. Which moves into our core budgeting strategies that we'll first discuss and I'll share with you today. So one of the most effective ones that some of you may have heard of, some of you may not have heard of, is the 50-30-20 budgeting rule. And as its namesake says, it basically breaks down your money into 3 core buckets or pieces of a pie, as we'll call it. 50%, that's close to half of your income. It goes towards your essentials, things that you can't avoid, your day-to-day stuff that you need in order to survive. So your rent, your groceries, your utilities, transportation, paying for the subway, paying for the TTC, your day-to-day life essentials that you need. And an important thing to note is this category is usually higher than 50% in some cases, especially in cities like Toronto or cities where the standard of living is higher than average, like Toronto and New York. So it's very common that it's slightly higher than 50%. And remember that this is a guideline and it's supposed to help you understand how to measure, okay, roughly this percentage amount of money should be allocated to my needs. And the second one, 30% goes to our wants. I love to call this the silly category, but it's the silly category that I love because it helps me to spend money in a way that I enjoy, in a way that I do not feel guilty about spending my money in. So this is about eating out, if you're a person who loves eating out, about shopping, travel, entertainment, anything that adds joy and comfort to your life. This is the spending category that you use in order to spend that money in. And it's important because this category is the category most people overspend in without even realizing it. So being aware of that as a starter is powerful. And lastly, is savings. Usually every day, monthly, when I get income or when my income arrives, I usually start with savings first. But for the sake of the discussion, 20% goes into savings. So this is anything like your emergency fund, anything like paying your credit card, paying any loans that you may have, right? This bucket is the bucket that builds your future. It's small contributions that you put in here that compound over time. So this percentage cut is a guideline and it's a starting point. But personally, I love it when my savings are at least 30% of my income. So usually I would put my wants at 20% and 30% goes to my savings. So automatically, for example, when my income lands in my account, automatically it's deducted and put into my savings and investments at 30%. So this is the beginning of the framework of the 50-30-20% rule on how to allocate your money and to see where your money goes and what your money is doing for you. Which leads us to a demo walkthrough, right? The 50-30%, the 50-30-20% in practice. So this is an example of a budget tracker that I personally use. And it was created by a UK-based content creator called Nisha. She creates a lot of incredible videos about finances, and she created this demo, this tracker that I use in my monthly tracking of my expenditure. I'm using it today purely for demo purposes, but we will share a link to her website and a link to her YouTube channel as well, where you can directly download it and experience it and try it for yourself. So I'm just going to share the spending tracker and then we'll go through it all together. So this is the 50, 30, 20% budgeting tool in practice. And as you can see, it's a simple sheet. All you need to do is populate the particular categories. So for your income, for instance, you have a day job or you're working part-time and you're earning maybe $2,000 a month. And then bi-weekly, for example, you go dog walking and you earn maybe $50 for those dog walks. And in the future, maybe, for example, you also own a rental property and you have income from there. Wherever you are at the stage of life or wherever your income is coming from, you can populate that here in the Excel spreadsheet. And notice that as I change the numbers, for example, if I no longer have that income for my rent, it automatically shows you that, oh, you are spending more than how much you are earning. So I love this tracker because it's easy to use. It automatically tracks where your money is going, and you can see it in full view of what is happening. And another one of example that I love is it shows you here the reality of how much is going where. So in this pie chart, 76% is going towards needs. 33% is going towards wants. 16% is going towards savings and investments. And you can say, whoa, okay, this is way above what my initial plan was of the 50, 30, 20 rule. What can I do in order to adjust that? And you can see, okay, my needs are way above my money or my income, and I can adjust that. For example, if you own a car, maybe you no longer need the car. You may live in downtown and there's access to TTC. There's access to the subway. You can probably remove the car payments and no longer have to use a car or sell that car. This is an easy view. You don't need to be an expert in Excel in order to use this. And this is a view that is straightforward and easy to use. Another thing too is the wants. So if you love coffee, you get your coffee morning runs, you can allocate the money there. And this category is entirely personal. Whether you love traveling, whether you love buying clothes, whatever it is for you, the 30% want category is tailored to you. And it allows a guilt-free spending category for yourself and being able to enjoy your money. Yep, awesome. And feel free throughout the webinar, please, if you have any questions, if you want to point out something, raise anything, any concerns, raise your hand, and I'm more than happy to answer that. Going back to the slideshow. We've gone through the tracker spreadsheets. And the second tool that I personally also use is a tracking app. So tracking apps are great if you prefer something that's quick and that's automated and it's always with you on your phone. And the good thing about the tracking app is that it automatically syncs to your bank account so it can categorize your expenses for you. For example, if I'm tapping on the TTC, my budgeting app will automatically categorize that as transportation. If I'm using an Uber, if I'm using Lyft, it'll automatically categorize that as transportation. So this is especially helpful if you're someone who's busy or you forget to manually log things, right? And there's other budgeting apps other than Buddy and Wilbur that are also out there. So please do your due diligence in researching which one is best for you. Some of them are free, and some of them offer a choice to pay for the premium experience. But this is to say whether you prefer the spreadsheet and tracking things manually, more hands-on, or whether you prefer the tracking app, the goal is the same. Choose a method that you can stick with. That's the bottom line. And an example that I always give is every first Saturday of the month, I have a financial check-in meetings with two of my friends. And what's interesting is that we use different tools. So some of us use the tracking sheet, and some of us use the apps to track our expenses. And what we've learned is that the best system is one that you can stick to, the one that you will consistently use, right? These tools are there to give you awareness about your money, how much is coming in, how much is going out. Am I using my money the way I intend to? And it gives you a financial picture, a clear financial picture that's easy to understand about your money and where it's going. And this leads us to another important factor. You can set a plan, you can have a goal, but sometimes we have to understand why that plan fails. Why do budgets fail? And I know a lot of people, yes, they set budgets with a good intention. They want to make sure they save every month, but why do budgets fail sometimes? One of the reasons is that budgets sometimes are way too strict. If you feel as though that your budget is punishment, you won't stick to it, right? And the solution to that is building a guilt-free spending category. So this goes back to the 30% of your silly wants. This is there to solve the strictness or feeling like punishment in your budgeting of your money every month or however you budget the money. So it gives you permission to enjoy your money and without blowing your whole budget. And doing this becomes more sustainable for you, and you're more likely to stick to your initial plan if your budget reflects real life. Second thing, we're human beings. We get emotional, we get tired, we celebrate a lot of things. There's Valentine's, there's the holiday season, which people spend a lot of money on. You name it, right? And a simple fix for emotional spending is something too that I'm still working on, is implementing the 48-hour rule. So for example, if you see something that you really want to buy, but isn't a need, you wait 48 hours. Most of the time, the impulse fades. And this will help you to separate, I want this right now, from, do I actually need this, right? And lastly, one of the things why budgets fail is that people don't track their spending. If you're not checking regularly how much money is going in, how much money is coming out, it's hard to understand or get a clear picture of your finances in general. Another example that we do in our monthly financial meetings is we go through our statements. So you just go through your bank statement for your checking account, for your debit card, or for your credit card, and you just scan the bank statement for any miscellaneous charges that are out of place. And because you're constantly monitoring that, you can catch things before you've spent so much money on it and you wouldn't be able to redeem it back again. So the solution is awareness, using the apps and using the spreadsheet tracker in order to have a clearer picture of what your money is doing, where it's going, and how it's working for you. And choosing the tool that you can stick to. And once you understand these patterns, budgeting stops being stressful and it starts being intentional. And it leads us to one of the most powerful foundations of financial stability, which is having an emergency fund. This is the one of the core foundations or cornerstones of financial literacy is having an emergency fund for those rainy days. And an example that I always give is during my undergrad at U of T, I was on a full ride scholarship. So because I was on a scholarship, my rent was fully taken care of, everything, my bills, everything was taken care of, right? But by the end of second year, I was taking a walk with one of my friends, and she was in third year at that time. She's like, oh, I want to have 10K saved up by the time I graduate. And I was like, maybe I should probably do that too. So in second year, that's when I told myself I want to have X amount of money saved up by the time I graduate. Because after graduation, my allowance stops. My financial support from my sponsorship stops. That's it. And I know life after grad is very uncertain. You're job searching, you're moving, and there's so much going on. And for international students, you're dealing with application fees for immigration. There's a lot of uncertainty that surrounds that. And if you have that emergency fund, it will help you just ease the stress or the financial stress at that time. And because I had saved up that money by the time I graduated, for the first 3 months after graduation, I didn't have a job. And it was that money that I was using to pay my rent. It was that money that I was using to buy food and keep me afloat. And it removed so much stress and gave me flexibility to like, you know what, be more intentional now about applying for jobs that I was actually looking for than stressing about getting anything that becomes available at that time. And this showed me how important having an emergency fund is. And life happens. Medical bills come out of nowhere. Jobs can change at any time, and especially in this uncertain job market, if you're working in tech, jobs can change so suddenly. A family member might need support, or your car can break down, or you need repairs in your apartment. These situations are stressful, but they're even more stressful if you're not financially prepared. And this is where your emergency fund comes in. So, how much should you be aiming for? Roughly, as a student at that time, I had around maybe $1,000 as a student, but my student budget was very small. But as you transition into being a young professional, as a new grad, you aim for 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. But you shouldn't let that number intimidate you because you're going to be building it little by little and starting small. And this gives you breathing room and it keeps you from going into debt or over relying on credit cards in times of emergencies. And the peace of mind it gives you is absolutely unmatched. Knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way and you'll be financially prepared. And it gives you that financial stability. So this is the cornerstone, one of the cornerstones of financial empowerment and being able to have the freedom to make good choices and be prepared when life throws a curveball at you. And it leads us into our next point, which is once you do start saving, where do you keep that money? And there's particular designated accounts or buckets, I like to call them, like for example, TFSA, for targeted savings, such as for your emergency fund, for travel, or for whatever the expenditure is that you are aiming for at that particular time, depending on your goals. So these are the main types of accounts in Canada at this time. And this is an overview of each type of account. So the important thing overall to understand is when you will need that money. 2, what happens to that money once you put it into the account? And 3, what happens to that money once you withdraw it? So for example, for the tax-free savings account, it's usually you're growing your money tax-free. So once you put that money into a tax-free account, any dividends you gain, any capital gains, any interest earned will be tax-free. So your money grows in there tax-free. And second, when you withdraw that money, you don't pay taxes when you withdraw that money, which is an incredible advantage. And usually the ideal use for TFSA usually is for an emergency fund because you want that money very liquid and being able to withdraw it at any time when you need it. Or for short-term goals like travel, or maybe you want to buy a car in a few months and you want to save up for payment for the car. So any goal where you want the flexibility. And another thing is when you withdraw from your TFSA account, you can recontribute that amount that you withdrew the following year, right? But there's specific caveats with each account. So for the TFSA, there is an annual limit of how much money you can put into that account. So for 2026 contribution limit, the annual limit is $7,000. That's the maximum amount of money you can put per year into that particular account. And it leads us into the RSSP, which has different advantages on its own. The goal for RSSP is mainly for people who want to save for retirement while reducing your income tax now. So you're saving for retirement, you're thinking long term, you're thinking ahead, and you want to save on your taxes now during the years when you're earning more money. So ideally, it's for long-term retirement investing, anybody with an employer matching program, or you're earning very high income right now, and you want to reduce the burden of income tax right now. So the thing with the RSSP is when you put the money in the bucket for the RSSP, that money grows tax deferred, meaning that if I contribute money to my RSSP, for example, this year, I'll get tax credits. My income tax will reduce. But in the long term, when I want to withdraw that money, when you withdraw it, that's when you pay the taxes. So the advantage of the RSSP is you reduces your income taxes today, but in the future, when you want to withdraw that money, that's when you pay your taxes. Another advantage of it is, for example, every month I take 4% of my salary and put it into my RSSP. And my company matches my contribution. So my 4% and the match from my company both go into my RSSP. And that's another advantage of the RSSP, having those employment or employee share purchase programs. Similarly, with an RSSP, there is a maximum contribution room per year. And for example, you haven't contributed to an RSSP in the previous years and you still have contribution room remaining, that unused contribution room carries forward indefinitely. So this is the basic RSSP. And I know sometimes you'll hear a little bit of the home buyers plan, lifelong learning plan. We won't get into those two particularly, but they're also part of an RSSP and they have slightly different rules regarding that. For example, with your withdrawals and with your ability to recontribute into the particular fund once you withdraw. Moving forward to the first home savings account. This is for people who are first-time home buyers. You want to save up for a down payment and you want the tax benefits of a TFSA and of an RSSP. So, what do I mean by that? The contributions in a first home savings account are tax deductible. So, when I put money into my first home savings account, similarly to an RSSP, it reduces my taxable income now in the years that I contribute. And similar to a TFSA, the investments in my first home savings account grow tax-free. And with the specific caveat to the first home savings account, when you withdraw from the first home savings account, if you withdraw for a qualifying first home and you qualify for that first home purchase, your withdrawals are tax-free. But if you meet the specific requirements and qualifications for that. Similarly too, there's a contribution limit that you're allowed to contribute each year. And for the first home savings account, there's a maximum lifetime limit that is capped. Certain caveat is you must qualify as a first home buyer, and you must use it by the earliest of the following years, right? Usually you must use it either within 15 years of opening the account or by the time you turn 71, whichever comes first. You have to be able to use it by that time. And it's good if you want to plan to buy your first home in a few years as a young professional and you qualify as a first-time home buyer. Overall, these different types of accounts that Canada offers will help you grow your money and invest your money. And depending on your goals and when you will need that money, that's when you put your money into that particular bucket of the TFSA or the RSSP or the first home savings account. And which leads us to a very important note on credit and debt management, right? Some of the mistakes that I made, some of the biggest financial lessons I learned was while I was an undergrad. And I know many students and young adults experience something similar. So through my scholarship, I received an allowance every 3 months. And it was a lump sum basically to cover my essentials, my food, my bills. Remember, rent was already paid for directly. So I didn't have to worry about rent. But each time the money lands, it's like a huge chunk of money, but remember, it's supposed to be allocated for 3 months. The problem was by the end of the second month, I was already rationing because I spent most of the money in the first month. Every restaurant that opened, I was there. Every event that my friends attended, every concert, you name it, I was there. And I didn't have a system. I wasn't budgeting and I was spending out of the fear of missing out. I was definitely spending out of FOMO. And when my friends were going out, when they were traveling, seeing pictures of them in Cancun, I wanted to be there. I wanted to be a part of it. And to keep up, I started relying heavily on my credit card. I was spending above my means and I was treating my credit card like extra income. And like many people, I fell into the trap of paying only my minimum balance on my credit card. So each month when my credit card was due, I'd only pay the minimum balance. And it's also a common myth that, for example, only paying the minimum balance improves your credit score. And it doesn't. Paying only the minimum keeps you in debt longer and it costs you more in interest in the long run, right? And the goal is to always pay your full balance. At the end of each month, once your credit card statement comes in, the goal is to pay your full balance. However, if you can't, you pay slightly more than the minimum balance and keep working your way until it's fully paid, right? And receiving money in bulk through my scholarship, at that time, it made me feel like I had plenty. And I didn't have a plan, I didn't have a system, and the money disappeared just as fast as it came in. And This experience taught me the importance of budgeting. It taught me the importance of pacing my spending. It taught me the importance of avoiding lifestyle pressures, right? And it taught me for not letting the fear of missing out or looking at what other people are doing. It taught me not to allow that to dictate my financial decisions. And these mistakes were humbling, to say the least. They were very humbling, but they're the reason why I take financial literacy so seriously today. And I share them with you because people go through the exact same thing. And I just want to share with you that you're not alone and you can always, always, always turn it around. And understanding the mistakes that I made helped me become better, gain a sense of awareness of that, and learn from those mistakes. And it led to understanding types of credit cards, what credit cards are for, and how to use my credit cards properly. Choosing the right credit card based on my goals. Because at that time I was a student, I had a student card. And because it's a student card, the credit limit is probably low, sometimes $500, sometimes $1,000. It's just there because it helps you to build your credit score. It teaches you the basics of using a credit card and being able to build your credit card history early. And I came in as an international student, so that was very important. I had no credit history. So starting off with a student card, being able to use it and learn how to use it well, I was able to build my credit history and have a good credit score by the time that I graduated. The second type of card that I want to introduce is travel rewards card. And I'm a person who travels a lot. I visit my family. I have a lot of friends all over the US and in the UK, and I value traveling. So I wanted to get a card that protected my trip. It protected my luggage. If there was any trip cancellations or something happens during the trip, that I was covered for also medically. So there's travel cards, travel credit cards that offer that. And an example that comes to mind is, for example, I was flying into Toronto from New York, and my flight got canceled in New York because of a snowstorm. And because I had travel insurance through my credit card, I was able to get a hotel room booked, and I was able to have breakfast in the morning and go to the airport and continue on my flight, my rescheduled flight back to Toronto. So small stuff like that and being aware of benefits like that come in handy for a person who loves to travel. Another one that comes to mind too is no foreign transaction fees. I travel a lot home, I travel to South Africa, and being able to use my cards without any foreign transaction fees is important because I'm paying in different currencies. So that comes in handy. Another thing too is I do a lot of car rentals. I live in Toronto, but don't own a car of my own. And because of that, I rely on car rentals. And because I have that particular credit card, I have 30% discount in a particular travel car rental company. And I'm able to rent a car if I'm going out of town, if I'm visiting a cabin, or if I'm going to Blue Mountain for like a day of skiing. So being able to be aware of these types of benefits that are available come in very, very handy. But the caveat is the annual fees. And the annual fees can be from anywhere from $100, $120 to over $600 and more. And another caveat for travel cards is blackout dates. So a blackout date is when you can't redeem your travel points or your travel rewards because even if seats are available, because sometimes during high demand times and during peak seasons. So being aware of these blackout dates is also another caveat for the travel cards. this card is only valuable or worth having if you're a person who loves to travel, who want the benefits and the advantages that come with the card because of traveling, and that if those benefits outweigh the annual fee that you're going to be paying yearly because of that. And the third type of credit card that I want to introduce is a cashback card. This is if you want something that's simple, something that's predictable, and cashback cards are very easy to manage. An example of a cashback card is, I also have a cashback card as well. So it's, for example, some banks or particular providers offer 4% cashback on your groceries, 2% cashback on gas, 2% cashback on transportation. So Uber, Lyft, TTC, and 1% on everything else. And the benefit of this is you're already spending money on these things. You're buying food already, you are paying for transport already, so you might as well get a little bit of cash back for the money that you're spending. And the benefit is it's straightforward. You get your cash back and it's automatically applied to your credit card or just automatically put into your account, which makes it easy because you're not tracking points, you're not tracking any type of reward miles, for example, like in the travel credit card. The caveat is on non-category spending, for example, if it's not categorized under groceries, under transport, under gas, you get a low base rate if it's not in any of those categories. But overall, this is great for people who want to save without tracking points, and cashback is automatically applied into your account. And then lastly, the last type of credit card I want to use is the no annual fee card. This type of card is if you want something low risk, low commitment option, this one is ideal. It's simple and predictable. You are spending every day on your basics, groceries, transport, utilities, and there's no yearly cost, which is the biggest benefit of the no annual fee card. But a caveat is it has a lower earning rate compared to the other cards. So for example, you wouldn't have any insurance sometimes with the card. There's no specific perks that come with the card, then that you're just basically using for your day-to-day expenditures. And it's good as a starter card or if it's complementing your primary card. And the reason why I introduce these types of credit cards is you can use them based on your goals and based on your needs and combine them to get the benefits of each of the cards. For example, the types of combinations that you can use. I have combo one. My friend in the financial meeting that we meet every month has combo three. So depending on your needs, depending on your goals, combination one is for a person who wants the both of both worlds. You want travel benefits and you want predictable cash back. So you're earning travel rewards for flights, for hotels, travel purchases, and you're covering your big ticket travel. You have insurance for your trips and you get cash back on your everyday expenditures. So this combination is best for someone who loves to travel or travels occasionally, and you want some flexibility. So you want your points for vacations, or you want to use your points for your bills. Second combination is, for example, not everyone is a big traveler, or you are in a particular season of your life where you're not traveling that often and you still want to earn points. This is a perfect combination two. It works because you can use your points towards dining, towards subscriptions, towards entertainment, and cashback similarly covers your groceries and your general spendings. And this combination I usually recommend it because it's best for students and young professionals And it's good for anyone who wants the rewards without committing to having a travel focused type of lifestyle. And the last type of combination is premium travel card and a no annual fee card. And the reason why these two are paired together is because premium travel cards usually have a slightly higher than average annual fee. But because you have the no annual fee card complementing it, it reduces the overall fee burden that you'll be paying each year. So this is a person for people who want to travel really good. So you want lounge access that comes with travel insurance. You want free check bags. You want hotel, rental car credits, and that's from the premium travel. And then you use the annual fee card to complement that for your everyday purchases. So stable purchases, similarly groceries, transport, and so on. And this leads us to our action plan and resources. And just to recap, we shared resources, two big tools that you can use to track your expenditures monthly or bi-weekly. So you can choose the tracking spender for the spreadsheet, and you can use the tracking app. We also shared examples of the different types of accounts that you can use and that you can open in Canada. And these the ones that you can use, you can also open using different brokerages. And we also shared examples of credit cards and types of credit card strategies that you can use. But today, I also want to leave you with two action plans that you can apply right away. Whether you're a student, whether you're a new grad, you're almost graduating, a young professional, first, I'd like for you to track your spending for 1 week, either using the app or the tracker or the combination of both. For 1 week, track your expenditure and then track it again for a second week and see overall in a month, how much are you spending? Where's your money going? What are you spending your money on? And is your money working for you in the way that you want? Second, checking on your credit score and working on increasing it. That's a final key takeaway that I hope that you can apply once you leave this webinar. And lastly, these are some tools that we will share as well afterwards in the meeting. And back to my podcast listens, I love listening to, so I read a book by Morgan Housel, and it's called The Psychology of Money. So in this podcast, he's being interviewed by Andrew Huberman about his book. And it talks about why we spend the way we do. How come, for example, you can have the best plan, you can have the best intentions to want to save and to want to budget, but the plans fall flat. It teaches you about the psychology of how we spend. And I think it's an incredible podcast listen for you to learn more about financial literacy and understanding the psychology behind money. And also too, at UofT, I know this was very beneficial for me at that time in undergrad, the tax clinic. I filed my taxes with the UofT tax clinic. So if you need any advice or any help with that, they are there to help you during the tax seasons. And it's coming up soon, so in a month or two. So it'll be a valuable resource to take a look at. And lastly, too, I want to highlight Nisha's video, the one that I use the tracker from. She also offers the tracker there. You're able to download it for free, customize it to your liking, and start using the tracker as well. Yeah. And awesome. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Tshego. That what was we received some really great questions in the chat, but unfortunately that we won't be able to go through all of them. But maybe we can start with maybe one or two questions, and hopefully, I mean, I'm kind of volunteering you, but if you feel free to reach out and connect with Tshego, and I'll make sure
Yeah,
to share that
absolutely.
in a follow-up email as well. And this is such an important conversation, and we continue to connecting with Tshego on that.
Mhm.
Maybe we'll pick up like one or two questions one from the registration maybe. When does debt become good debt? for bad debt, and especially for students who considering like grad school or professional program later on?
Mhm. That's a great one. What is good debt versus bad debt? Good debt is any debts or loans that you're taking that have the potential to increase your future income. And for example, you take some money out to go to grad school, or you take some money out to take a professional course, that has the advantage of increasing your potential income. So it's also a sign of good debt. Second thing that I also usually say is you have a plan on how you will repay it. That's a sign of good debt. So having a game plan on, I'm going to grad school and this is roughly how much money that I will need at that time. How am I going to pay that money back? Having a plan on how you'll pay it back is also a sign of good debt. Bad debt is anything that does not increase your potential future ability to earn more, and it adds zero value to your financial stability. So anything that you buy or you from that debt that has no way of increasing your potential future income, that's what I consider bad debt. Yeah.
That's great.
Mhm.
I guess there's one more question that was asked in the chat earlier. How can I adopt this framework? I think they were talking about the 50-30-20 framework. If
Yes.
housing alone accounts for about 70% of my total incomes, especially
Mhm.
totally understandable living in
Yes.
Toronto.
It's a very common thing, actually, living in a big city like Toronto. Most of your income goes towards your essentials like rent, your bills, your utilities, your day-to-days. But a good thing with this rule is this framework is it's a guideline, right? And if you have that guideline, okay, 75% of my money is going to my needs. I am left with 25% of my income. 10% of that can go towards your savings and investments, and the rest of the money can go to your wants. So using or starting where you are is the point of building that financial literacy muscle. So if you have, for example, 5% going to savings and investments, and you're investing, let's say, $200 a month or $50 a month into your investment account, 10 years from now, for example, you'll be 30. It goes by very fast. It's going to have compounded exponentially. So it's starting where you're at with the money that you have right now. Another useful thing too that I mentioned earlier is going through your statements every month and seeing where is my money going, or through the spending tracker of the categories, where is my money going that is not working for me. It's no longer useful to me. For example, if you want to allocate more money to investing in your skills, for example, you can see where your money is going and try to reallocate it to where you want it to be really going. This is outside of your needs, for example. So that's what I would say. Start with where you're at. If 75% of your income is going to your needs, that's okay. Where's the 25% going? Is at least 5% going into savings and investments? Is at least 2% going into investing in your skills that will potentially increase your earning ability in the future? That's some of the questions that I would be journaling and thinking about. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Teko. Unfortunately, I don't think that we have enough time for another questions, but
Yeah.
again, we'll share Teko contact information in the follow-up email for you to connect after. Um,
And sorry, Ivan, one final thing that I want to add is the different types of accounts, there's so much more to that as well. So for example, if you're thinking about opening an emergency, a TFSA account for your emergency savings, you can do that with your bank. You can do that with stuff like Wealthsimple, which is very easy to use. So understanding your goals, when you want your money, is also very important. So using those types of accounts to your benefit is one thing that I'd say. Yeah.
great, thank you. Teko, can you next slide, please?
Yes.
Great. So again, I just want to say thank you, Teko, for sharing your expertise on money management and equipping us with really great strategies to build a stronger financial habit. Your insight really makes the complex financial concepts feel very accessible and actionable. And we really truly appreciate your time and your knowledge that you brought with us today. Before we wrap up, though, we love to hear your feedback. So please take a moment to scan the QR code on screen with your phone camera to complete our event survey. Or for your convenience, my colleague Bustra will also going to drop a survey link in the chat. And please keep an eye out for your inbox, and we'll send a survey via email shortly as well. If if you wanted to explore more information about other career program and services that are available to you, please visit our website at the Career Exploration and Education. And then next slide, please.
Yep.
Let's start with what is this island going? That's not an island.
So throughout the year, we host a variety of different events designed to really create valuable opportunities for you to connect with each other and with our alumni community. So please keep checking our website and CONX for future opportunities to engage with us. You can also join us on UofT Hub on 10,000 Coffee. This is a free online networking platform for UofT alumni and students. The platform makes networking easy and efficient, and you can either connect with member directly at your convenience or opt in for the monthly introduction features, which match you with someone based on your industry and your profession or their professional background. Again, thank you for joining us today at this workshop, and we're really looking forward to seeing you at our future events.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, this is next slide as well, Tshego, if you want to advance to that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, folks, and enjoy the rest of the day.